right, good morning, everybody. The time is 9:12. We're going to go ahead and call today's meeting to order. City Clerk, would you please take the roll call?
Certainly. Councilmember Carbasi. Councilmember Arias. Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Bredefeld. Here. Councilmember Esparza.
Present.
Vice President Perea.
Here.
And Council President Maxwell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. I'm going to ask everyone to stand for the invocation, which will be led by Pastor Scott McNeil from Cross City Christian Church. And I'm going to ask everyone to remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards, which will be administered by Councilmember Bredefeld.
Just want to thank every person that is here today for the opportunity to pray over you. So thank you. Let's pray. God, first and foremost, we are grateful for you. We are grateful for your love. We are grateful for your grace. I pray a special blessing over this meeting today. I also pray a special blessing over the men and women that are here today, the men and women that get the opportunity to serve the people around them. I pray that you would just bless them in an amazing way, that you would bless their families, that you would bless each and one of their individual lives as well. God, they have given their life to serving those around them, and we are grateful for that. And so, God, as we kind of enter into this meeting, enter into this time, let everything that is said here be honoring to you and honoring to the people of this city. Pray that we can continue to love you and show your love to the people around us. We thank you. Amen.
City Clerk, do we have any changes to today's agenda?
Yes, I've received a few changes to the agenda. But first, I'd like to remind everyone we do have Spanish, Hmong, and Punjabi translators online, and as well as closed captioning. And we have a in-house Spanish translator. If anyone requires his services, he's located in the back. And as for changes to the agenda, we have consent calendar item 1A, that is file ID 23941, regarding the approval of various minutes from June 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. The minutes of June 8th have been removed and will return on the June 22nd, 2023 agenda. All other minutes will remain on the agenda. Consent calendar item 1D, that is file ID 23889, regarding a consultant agreement with Baker Tilly US LLP. All sponsors are requesting this item be continued indefinitely. Consent calendar item 1M, that is file ID 23846, regarding the resolution adopting the 45th Amendment to the Annual Appropriations Resolution in Emergency Solutions Grant Coronavirus. It has been removed from the agenda by staff with no return date. Consent calendar item 1N, regarding supplemental emergency solution grant funding provided by the U.S. Department of Housing and Community Development Office. That has been removed from the agenda by staff with no return date. Consent calendar item 1AA, that is file ID 23945, regarding the resolution to name the Fresno Regional Fire Training Center as the Chief Caridonis Training Center. That has been removed from the agenda by Councilmember Arias and Vice President Perea and tabled to June 22nd, 2023. It is also not subject to veto. General Administration Item 3A, that is file ID 23960, regarding an agreement with Bakeman Water Company. That has been removed from the agenda by staff and will return on the June 22nd, 2023 agenda. And finally, we have item 4A, Council Item 4A, that is file ID 23973, regarding the naming of the Fresno Police Department Regional Training Center. All sponsors are requesting this item be continued indefinitely. I also would like to announce there was a separately noticed special meeting for a closed session item, file ID 23989, Raymond Gonzalez versus City of Fresno. Those are all the changes to the agenda.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. I'm going to take it to my colleagues now. If you have any changes to the agenda, including any items you'd like to remove from consent to contested, or any items you'd like to recuse yourself on or register a no vote, now would be the time to do so. Councilmember Carbasi? No. Councilmember Arias?
I just have one clarifying question for the administration. I made a request to table item 1O to next meeting, but if you can answer this question quickly, I'll keep it on. The way it reads, it suggests that we're increasing the contract by 1.5 million, even though we're only extending the agreement by a couple of days.
I don't know if staff's in the room. Could you maybe do it for contested consent, and I'll make sure staff is present?
Sure. I will modify my request to pull the item for contested consent 1O for the record.
Thank you.
And I apologize, I did not also read 1X. I read that note on a separate piece of paper. Are we still, so 1X will also be tabled to June 22nd by Councilmember Arias.
Correct.
Okay, Councilmember Chavez?
Yeah, Councilmember Arias, did you move item 1O to contested consent, or did we continue it for the next meeting?
Contested consent.
Okay, because I did have some questions. I sent them over to Phil. I'm not sure if he got them back to me, but I'll save them for then. Thank you.
Councilmember Bredefeld?
Yes, I'd like to register a no vote on 1J. And Councilmember Arias, you pulled for contested consent O, is that correct? I'd like to also pull 1Z.
You'd like to pull that item?
Yes, for discussion,
Okay.
And then on 1D, Council President, the Baker Tilly, that says indefinitely. Do we have a date of when we're going to bring that back? Would bring that back on the 22nd? And just curious, if we're going to do it indefinitely, why?
If you'd like to affix it to a date now, I don't think there's anything preventing us from doing it next week.
Yeah, let's do it next week.
Okay.
Let's schedule it for next week.
City Clerk, let's amend item 1D to continue it to the June 22nd council meeting.
Thank you.
Anything else, Councilmember Bredefeld? Councilmember Esparza? Council Vice President Perea? Okay. And I don't have any changes either, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. I have a motion from Carbasi and a second from Arias. Any discussion? Any opposition? Seeing none, the item passes 7-0. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. We're going to move on to the exciting part of today's agenda. That's our ceremonial proclamations. We're honoring a couple of very special people today, and the very first proclamation will be for Leanne Eager today, and that will be sponsored by Vice President Perea, Office of the Mayor, City Manager, Councilmember Chavez, and Councilmember Esparza. If we could have you all come up to the front at this time, please. Thanks.
We can pass it around. All right. So, Leanne, it's my honor to have the opportunity to present this proclamation to you, but it's also bittersweet. You've had just your dedication to Fresno has been steadfast, and the shoes that you're leaving to be filled by someone else is it's tremendous in size. And for those who don't know, I met Leanne about 10, 12 years ago. I was in the beginning of my career as a professional planner, and so it was just a privilege to be in the room with you and to learn early on what a dedicated and hardworking boss woman looked like, and it's just been incredible to get to know you more. And if we had more time here today, I'm sure we could all share personal stories about just how well we know each other, but I think we'll save those for another day with a glass of wine. But thank you for your contributions to what you've done here in the city of Fresno and the county of Fresno, and it does not go unnoticed. You've made incredible strides here in our community, and you've set the bar really high. So thank you for your contributions. I'm going to pass it over to the mayor to say a couple words.
Thank you, Council Vice President. And Leanne and I actually go back about 35 plus years in her days with rape counseling, and we worked together there on a number of things. And then fast forward to being the executive director for the Economic Development Corporation, which she's done a fantastic job in representing the entire Fresno County region. And I know you have, you and your staff have done an incredible job. Great partnership with our development department as well. And the other thing that a lot of people don't know is, Leanne was appointed by 4 times, as I recall, on Transportation Authority for California. I think that's what you call it, don't you? Commission, right. And but has done an incredible job, and that's for the entire state of California. And so we are very fortunate, and much of the things that we get here by way of transportation dollars are largely influenced by Leanne. And then high-speed rail. Leanne has been all over the world looking at high-speed rail stations and just high-speed rail in general. As we know, we're going to have the first high-speed rail station right here in Fresno, and she's done an incredible job of bringing back that vision, bringing back those ideas, and we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future in some form or capacity. So congratulations.
Leanne and I had a chance to work very closely when I was one of her board members for the EDC. And I'll say this about Leanne. She is probably one of the hardest working people. The mayor and I actually went to sign the Sister City agreement last year at Guadalajara. And there was a gentleman that kept talking about, yeah, you're director for the whole Central Valley. I was like, what's he talking about? So afterwards, he said, yeah, her name's Leanne. And I was like, oh, yeah, she is the director for the whole Central Valley. So she's actually not just national, she's international. And so that just tells you how impactful her work has been in literally putting Fresno on the map. You've been all over the world, and you always present a really good vision for the Central Valley. We are a little bit biased. We like you to talk about the city of Fresno, but you've talked about the Central Valley. But I really feel that Leanne led by example and built a model that a lot of organizations and a lot of other cities have followed. And you only have to see about the list of folks that now go to ICSC. You were going to ICSC before anybody knew what ICSC. And for people who don't know, it's the International Shopping Center where they have a conference. I think it's worldwide, and folks come there. Well, Leanne has been there, I don't even know how many times, but the first time I went there, I remember they had a booth, and they were advocating for the Central Valley, for Fresno, for the city of Fresno, too. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for all your years of service. And as the mayor mentioned, every single project that has been instrumental for the Central Valley, I think Leanne has been a part of it. Maybe oftentimes not the face, but always working behind the scenes. So the minute you think that you're doing something new, she's already been there and done it a couple of times over. But I really feel that you built this organization, and you took it from a good organization to a great organization, and building a great team that you have here, and the folks that do the great work. So we look forward to continuing working with the organization, and you're not going to be tired. You're going to be retired. You're going to be tired or retired. So thank you for your work, Leanne.
Yeah, Leanne, I want to thank you for all your years of service. Even though you focused primarily on the city and the Fresno County, the impact has been regional. Leanne and I see very much eye to eye on our philosophy of regional economic development, and I've really appreciated all the work she's done over these years. Just externally, but also internally, building up such a great team. I think we'll continue to be in good hands, but there will be a gap, and we hope it's filled, and it'll take years, right, for someone to kind of climb and get to where you've been. And but you've done a lot of great work, and I think you're leaving us with a great team of folks to work with. So I'd say see you later, but we both know that retired really means you're just gonna be a little busier afterwards, right? I'm sure you continue to serve on the CTC and such. So I'm sure we'll continue to see you around and be involved in different capacities, and we hope you are, because we've got a lot of work to do. I'm sure you'll be getting lots of phone calls, even when you're not formally in the position anymore. But thank you.
Should we let Leanne say a few words? Yeah.
So probably everybody up here knows I cry, so I'll try, right? So thank you so much, Vice President. This is a little overwhelming. Means a lot. So, well, there we go. Yeah, thanks. So I don't think it's a secret. Anybody that knows me knows how much I love this city. Born and raised here, Hoover High, go Patriots. Went to Fresno City College, Fresno State, traveled around, but always came back here because I truly believe, and I don't think it's anything I haven't said a million times, is there's no place like Fresno. Even when people say, oh gosh, you just went to Spain, I'm like, yeah, but there's nothing like Fresno to build your family, to build your business, to build your friendships. And it doesn't make any difference whether I'm in this position or at the CTC or whatever I'm doing, I will always talk about the beauty of Fresno. I will always talk about the community of Fresno. And you all have been wonderful partners in these 14 years or 36 years or what, in helping build that partnership, in helping build that community. And so I know this is for me, but I want to thank all of you because this team will continue to do that wonderful work that we've all started. They have a great foundation, and when people say, oh gosh, what's going to happen? I said, nothing. Look, we have all of these folks that have lived that dream with me. I think I drive them crazy every now and then because I say, ooh, I have a dream, let's do it. And they go, oh, okay, let's do it. And they've done it. So thank you all for being supportive all these years, and thank you for everything. Appreciate it.
So in addition to this proclamation, we also have certificates from Senator Padilla, from Congressman Costa, and from Assemblymember Soria. So thank you to the representatives for being out here today. And City Clerk, will you please read the proclamation for the record?
Gladly. Whereas Leanne Eager has been an active community member of the City of Fresno through her presidency and CEO positions at the Fresno County Economic Development Corporation, acting as legislative liaison for local, state, and federal legislators as an EDC representative. And whereas Eager is a 4-time governor appointed by California Governor Gavin Newsom to the California Transportation Commission, for which he serves as chair, and the Governor's Advisory Council to International Trade and Investment, the California Partnership for the San Joaquin Valley, and the California Workforce Development Board, appointed by former Governor of California, Jerry Brown. And whereas Eager emphasized the importance of community through her 12-year involvement as Executive Director of the Rape Counseling Services of Fresno, and her position as board chair of the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault, in which she assisted then-Senator Joe Biden with drafting the first Violence Against Women Act. And whereas Eager has been a crucial leader in the high-speed rail project for 14 years, ensuring that Central California voices are heard by assisting impacted local businesses, allowing opportunities for local resident inclusion in the project. And whereas Leanne Eager has dedicated her career to serving the Central California, playing a vital role not only in the economic development of Fresno, but additionally in areas of women's social justice, the City of Fresno has benefited greatly from her inspiring work. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Council Vice President Annalisa Perea, Mayor Jerry Dyer, and Fresno City Council do hereby congratulate Leanne on her decades of work to the EDC and wish her the best as she embarks on a new journey. Be it further resolved that we, Council Vice President Annalisa Perea, Mayor Jerry Dyer, and the Fresno City Council do hereby proclaim Thursday, June 15th to be Leanne Eager Day in the City of Fresno.
All right, our second proclamation today will be honoring Senior Community Revitalization Specialist George Hobbs. And that will be sponsored by Councilmember Arias and the City Attorney's Office.
Just got a message about.
How are you? Good to see you, brother. Council, this is going to be short for me because I want to give our city attorney an opportunity to be baptized in proclamations and recognitions with our Attorney to Erica, but simply what we're doing today is recognizing one of our code enforcement employees who went out of their way to look out for our residents in a time of need. So with that, City Attorney.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here today to thank you, George, for what you did back on April 24th. You went above and beyond the call of duty. George did everything that he could to pull a man essentially out of a structure fire. Despite his best efforts, the individual didn't make it. But you didn't have to do what you did. You put your life in danger, and we just really appreciate what you do. You've set a great example for the rest of the code enforcement team. And Erica, I understand he's been recently promoted. Is that correct? So congratulations on that end as well. George, I really appreciate everything that you've done.
It was unrelated to the incident.
Unrelated.
Thank you. Yes, I was just going to say that. Thank you, Council Member Arias. The promotion had everything to do with George's, just his ability to just go out and kill it every single day on the job. He's just an amazing employee. The fact that he risked his own life to try to save that of another is just a cherry on top. And he's just a wonderful reflection of all of our code enforcement officers. But him, like, just dropping everything that he was doing to run into a fire, to risk his own life to save somebody else, is just an amazing attribute that I'm just so proud of. So thank you for everything, George. And yeah.
Yeah, the Bible says there's no greater love than to lay down your life for another. And what you did that day really put your life on the line to save someone. And although the outcome was not what we wanted, your efforts are appreciated, and the sacrifice that you made on that day, but also your day-to-day work that you do for the city is so vital, and the work that you do behind the scenes. And one thing, every time I see you, you're smiling. You're always smiling, and you represent this city in such a professional way. So congratulations, you really do deserve this day, George.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Jay Tracy. I serve as your Deputy Fire Marshal with the Fire Department, and I've had the honor and privilege of knowing George for several years. Not only do we work together in our capacity with city employees, but also we attend church together, so I know him as a brother in Christ as well. When I heard George was there, it didn't surprise me one bit. His work ethic and character just showed his true colors that day. I've seen probably more death than most people should. Not all, but most. And one thing I know for sure in all those experiences is that there are some people that are fearful of death. But one thing I hold true with all people is that nobody wants to die alone if given the opportunity. And George, despite the outcome that day, you were there. I know Mr. Bennett probably would have had a different outcome in mind given the opportunity. I think you really stepped up that day. Did all that you could to give him a chance, but also to know that he wasn't alone that day. And I know that's been a huge source of comfort for the family. Oddly enough, we've spoke a lot with the family, but getting to know them, they were just very relieved that you were there that day. And in his final moments, that was something that it's helped them kind of heal and get over the loss. So thank you. Honored to be your friend.
Clerk, could we go ahead and read the proclamation? Oh, George, did you?
Whereas George Hobbs is a senior community revitalization specialist in the City Attorney's Office, Division of Code Enforcement, assigned to the illegal dumping team. And whereas on Monday, April 24th, 2023, while conducting inspections for illegal dumping near the area of Santa Fe and Norwich Avenues in the city of Fresno, George observed black smoke billowing out of a concrete drainage enclosure near the railroad and heard a male voice from within the enclosure yelling out for help. And whereas George wasted no time and immediately ran towards the smoke, which quickly evolved into burning flames, George observed a man inside the concrete enclosure and did everything he could, ultimately without success, to help rescue the gentleman from the fire. And whereas George's heroic efforts to try and save a human life were an act of valor and showed a remarkable act of bravery, empathy, and compassion. Whereas George's act of heroism represents the heart of code enforcement. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City of Fresno, Mayor, and City Council do hereby proclaim our appreciation and gratitude for the heroic efforts of George Hobbs.
Thank you. I just, as Jay said, I've reflected a lot on the incident, and I just keep circling back to, whatever that individual was going through in his life, whatever position he was in at that moment. Ultimately at the end, he wasn't alone. There was somebody there who at least cared about him and tried to help him in that moment. And it's brought me a lot of relief. I did what I would hope anybody would do for me or my family or friends in need. And, I try and lead by example. And, I didn't do it for all of this. I did it to help somebody that needed the help. So this is awesome. This is amazing. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and supporting this moment. And thank you to my great leadership day in and day out.
All right, next up, we have council member reports and comments. We'll go in numerical order, starting with Councilmember Carbasi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. So on Monday, I was able to meet with Fresno State President Saul Jimenez Sandoval to discuss current events. A lot has changed since I was a student at Fresno State a long time ago. We discussed many challenges for today's student population, including the shortage of student housing and the need for wraparound services for those students. I'd like to thank President Jimenez Sandoval for the opportunity to discuss these serious issues and for hosting me, and I truly believe as an alumnus, Fresno State is in very caring hands under his leadership. There was another event with the Valley Health Team, and they are a local network of federally funded clinics that provide essential services to all folks in the community. They had their annual primary care physician graduation, and it's a real special occasion to recognize not only, in this case, 4 new primary care physicians that have passed a residency, but the fact that their residency program helps bring in people oftentimes from other parts of the country into Fresno to hopefully stay in Fresno and to help treat our aging population. The last item I'm going to share about is an ongoing project happening right now. It's the repaving of Faulkner Avenue. I had the opportunity last week to announce the joint project with the County of Fresno to repave Faulkner in Northwest Fresno. This project couldn't happen without our joint efforts and funding with the county. This stretch has a PCI score of 15 out of a total score of 100, which is pretty low, and it has not been repaved in 27 years. And what's so important about the repaving of Faulkner Avenue in Northwest Fresno is that it runs along an elementary school, which is Malik Elementary, and also along a park, Oso de Oro Park, that caters to families, but also has accessibility specifically to the disabled. So thank you so much to the county for their partnership on that, and to Public Works for doing a great job making this project happen on time and under budget as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you to everyone who joined us Saturday and my council colleagues for the unveiling of the Cesar Chavez Boulevard street signs. It was a great time to see a lot of the elder folks come together. Felt like a high school reunion and a quinceañera combined, but more of a celebration with some of our heroes who are still alive today, including Dolores Huerta. With that, I also want to just inform the public that on Friday, Storyland's Playland officially reopens. I know the mayor is going to be present. So if you have a chance, you can get your kids into Playland for $5. And I would also recommend you stop by across the street at Zamora's Carnitas in their number 2 location that Councilmember Chavez is very familiar with now. It's the best carnitas in the city. And finally, just more informational for the city manager. We asked for, in the budget process, for a memo on the response times for the 911 dispatch center. And I'm sure we'll get that memo at some point. But, in the last few days, I've had the responsibility to call 911 myself a couple of times. One was for a bar fight in Tower from Bobby Salazar spilled into streets. Another one was a severe head-on collision yesterday, the day before, on Belmont. And I just want you to know that when I speak about response times, it's not just from the perspective of numbers and basic, concern over what the metrics are for performance in a public safety apparatus. It's also from personal experience. I get to, quite often, I have to call 911 when I see a fire on the freeway, a fire in the alleyway in the neighborhood, or a traffic accident. And I get to experience what a lot of residents experience, which is multiple transfers to multiple dispatches. So when we look at the memo and the metrics for performance, I know we get criticized quite a bit for how much money we provide the police department. They are half of the general fund. That's no secret. It is what it is. But we also need to work on getting better service. I know we're funding a dispatch center. That's part of the obstacle, which is physical space. But I'm going to be very interested in looking at how we classify response times, both for fire and for police. I know there's different levels of responses. You don't respond. PD may not respond to a minor traffic accident. They might not respond to petty theft. They might not respond to whatever. But what I'm starting to feel is this feeling that we're not looking at the outcome. We're looking at general metrics that we choose around violent crimes. But the vast majority of our population interacts with the system either through traffic infractions or through calling 911. And I'm going to be very focused on looking at how much better of a response the general public is getting when they call 911, either for fire, which is primarily a medical call, or for police. So just know that when I'm asking for these things, it's not about making a political point. It's because I've been on hold for several minutes when there's a raging fire. I'm on hold for several minutes when there's an accident with people who are injured. And if it's happening to me, it's the general public is experiencing the same thing. And I know there's peak, seasons of peak times of the day, peak times of the week, peak times of, folks being out for training. All that, goes into account. But ultimately, I'm be looking very closely at response times for the general public when it comes to these matters, because I think that's going to be a metric that we have to look at, as important as a reduction in violent crime, as important as having a fully staffed departments, is how much faster are we picking up the phone? How long is it taking folks? Is it taking them 25 minutes to get to an accident scene, or is it taking them 5 minutes? We ultimately, that's, I think, what folks are interested in, is better service for everyone. So with that, thank you. For the record, in all the times that I've called, the response when people have arrived have been extremely professional. They've been on top of it. When our folks get there, it's a great service and a great response. It's just, in my experience, the time on hold, the multiple transfers, and the time it takes people to get there from an existing assignment, I assume, is taking precedence.
Oh, I just wanted to address it because that data is readily available. I don't know why you don't have it, quite frankly, because it's tracked on a weekly basis with 911. And so we can get that to you. And it's broken down by district. It's broken down by how long it takes between a call that comes in to the time it's answered, how long it takes for transportation, broken down by district, and then the overall time of the call completion. So I don't recall the request being made, but that data is readily available. They look at it on a weekly basis.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, President. Just a couple of highlights. This past week, we had an opportunity to attend the United Health Center's groundbreaking over in the Calawa neighborhood by Jensen and Cedar. I want to thank United Health Centers for the work they've been doing in our community. They were very thoughtful about highlighting the fact that they've opened 3 health clinics in Southeast Fresno, Kings Canyon, and Minnewawa. The one built into the school at Felipe Herrera, which has been great for the kids and the families. And now this one that will serve the community of Callaway. And based on that conversation and the data they shared with me, the reason they wanted to be located there is they have some numbers that say that 56,000 people in the neighborhood of Callaway will have access that do not currently have access. So I just wanted to publicly thank them for the work that they've been doing. And then also thank Father Jose over at St. Anthony Claret. He will host our cleanup this Saturday at the church, where we'll go and clean up the trailway in preparation for the trail work that's going to happen that will lead into the regional park from the community of Calawa. Very appreciative of them hosting that and spreading the word with the congregation there. He is new to the parish, so we're going to give him a nice welcome to the area. And then just a request for our city manager. Kids are out of school now. We've got some folks that are still going to summer school, and I know we're going to be doing the lunch programs. I did see our traffic officers out there. That's very appreciative. But just a request, maybe if we can have our traffic division set up around some of the school sites and places where they'll be distributing lunches, community centers. I think it would slow down the traffic quite a bit, because I think in folks' head, they think, oh, school's out, so there's no children around. But I think it's the opposite, because you got kids on bicycles and skateboards, and we got a couple of calls and messages from some of the residents just to have that, so they wanted me to pass that along to our folks on there. And with that, I'll yield my time, Council President.
Councilmember Bradfield.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I had mentioned this, but I want to thank Public Works for the gate that was put up at the underground tunnel on the Sugar Pine Trail. A lot of complaints from residents about homeless camping out in there and creating all kinds of problems. And so that gets closed at night, opened up very early in the morning. It's made a big difference. People feel much more comfortable and appreciate staff doing that so quickly. And the gate looks really fantastic. It's done very, very well. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Esparza.
Yeah, I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to both the city attorney and the code enforcement division for all the work they've done to abate the Fajbele event glass house over across the street from Manchester Center, and the securing of the Renzi art piece known as Day in the Park. Really great work, and looking forward with the entire community to preserving that art piece. Here in the very near future, we'll continue the abatement, clean it up, and then we'll find a permanent location here on city property for all folks to enjoy that artwork. So again, thank you to the city attorney's team and the code enforcement team. Also wanted to thank just the general community who was able to attend the celebration of Cesar Chavez Boulevard. It was as great of an event as Councilmember Arias described. Great to see everyone out there, and for folks who had been advocating for that for a very, very long time. It was great to see the joy there around that celebration, and to have some of the family members, as well as Dolores Huerta, attend as well. Lastly, just wanted to invite folks to join the City of Fresno for the raising of the Juneteenth flag at City Hall this coming Monday at noon. For those who may not know, Juneteenth celebrates the anniversary of the emancipation of African American slaves. And I want to thank the Juneteenth Coalition for their efforts to organize events really throughout this whole week, from now through Monday, to celebrate this important milestone. Thank you.
Council Vice President Perea.
Thank you, Council President. I want to start by just thanking everyone who came out to the Pride flag raising we held here last week. It was a great event. We had a good turnout, and just looking forward to continuing this tradition. Also want to make folks aware that we have our first movie in the Tower Theater tonight. That's a free movie. It's going to start at 7 p.m., and so be sure to come out, check out the farmers market, and then stop by the Tower Theater at 7 to enjoy a free movie. My team and I hosted our third town hall this week. It was at Quigley Park, so just want to thank our department heads and representatives, Director Mosier, Director Aaron, Aguirre, Assistant Director Edward Chenevere, Quigley Park staff, Christina Roberson, Captain Beckwith, CSO Guzman, and Mary Haskin, and it was exciting to see our very first park ranger out there as well, Park Ranger McDonald. So just thank you to everyone who helped to make this last town hall a great success. Our upcoming movies in the park, we have our next one at Inspiration Park. That's going to be June 22nd at 8 p.m. So bring the family, lawn chairs, and blanket. This is going to be another free movie to be enjoyed. In this case, this one will be outside. And then in case you haven't had a chance to meet them yet, I have 2 new employees in the District 1 office. They are Joanne and Priscilla. So if you have a chance, please introduce yourselves to them. They are going to be a great addition to the District 1 team and to the people of District 1. Thank you very much.
Quick update, I do want to extend my thanks and gratitude to our Public Works team. There's going to be a lot of new improvements going on in District 4 over the next few weeks and couple of months. Starting today, we're going to be restriping the Vinland Park courts. It was initially just meant for volleyball and tennis, but we're making it accessible to pickleball and a couple other sports in the short term. In the long term, in this year's budget, we do have funding allocated for the design and construction for a dedicated pickleball court and for a dedicated futsal court at Vinland Park so that we can accommodate more people coming in and using our park facilities in District 4. But over the next 2 weeks, unfortunately, those courts won't be accessible as we will be doing the restriping to accommodate multiple sports until we have the permanent courts installed. When we initially took office, we made it a priority to make sure that we revitalize as many of the center median islands throughout our busy business corridors as we could. We wanted to make sure that our business corridors were vibrant, a place where people wanted to come and do business and didn't feel the need that they needed to move out of the district because blight was creeping in. So over the last few years, we've worked really successfully with our Public Works team to revitalize Cedar Corridor, the First Street Corridor, Ashland Corridor, and we're just about to wrap up Shaw Avenue from Fashion Fair to Fresno State as well. Planting new trees, adding drip irrigation, stamped concrete, decorative rocks, decorative mulch, just to give it that revitalization that it needs. The trees died a long time ago. They looked really awful. And quite frankly, was really blighted. And I heard from a lot of business owners in District 4 that had moved in to do business, 10, 20 years ago. It looked very different back then, the late 90s and early 2000s versus what it did today. So we're just trying to make it a beautiful place again that businesses want to come back and do business in Central Fresno. So we thank our Public Works team for that. And lastly, today we are also beginning construction on a Class 4 bike lane. For those that might not know, a Class 4 bike lane is a protected bike lane. It has little things that stick out. I forget the technical term. But essentially keep the bicycle lane separated from oncoming traffic. Bollards, I guess is the technical term. And so that's going to be going from Blackstone Avenue to Fresno State Campus along Barstow Avenue. This was one of the highest priority areas identified in the active transportation plan. There's no on-street parking, so it should be a very smooth and seamless process, but it will allow folks, including Fresno State students, to get from Blackstone Avenue, whether they're taking the BRT or they live on the other side of town, to get to Fresno State Campus safely on bicycles. And that's going to be a really big thing for our district. And so we want to thank our Public Works team for that. And lastly, I just wanted to thank my Vice President, Annalisa Perea. As you guys noticed, last week I was pretty much MIA. I don't know if it was the MA virus or another virus, but I was out cold for a week, and it was Council Vice President Perea's first budget, and she stepped in and she ran most of those meetings, and I think she did a pretty darn good job at it, and I think she's earned her Vice President credentials, and so I wanted to make sure I thanked her for stepping up to the occasion. And that will conclude council member reports and comments. I'll hand it over to the city manager and the mayor at this time. Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just one. I want to thank the council for all of your support of Camp Fresno. I know when we first launched, there were some reservations on the part of some, but it has turned out to be more than I had ever expected. And yesterday we launched our first for this year, which is our third year. We had 54 kids that we sent up to Camp Fresno for a 3-day camp, 2 overnight stays. And then today we had another one with just over 30 kids that went up for a day camp, and we'll do another one tomorrow. So over the first 2 years, we had about 940 kids that attended, but already this year there's over 1,000 that have registered. So it is something that I just very, very proud of and could not have done it without this council. So thank you.
City Manager.
Council President, just a few things. One, I want to remind folks that we have the job fair tomorrow being held here at City Hall from 10 to 1 in the breezeways under the sort of arch part of the building. We invite and encourage all Bitwise employees who have been affected to attend. We have a number of private companies participating as well. Encourage everybody to attend. Also want to do a shout out to our graffiti team. We had the Spiral Garage tagged again on the side, very high up, very difficult place to reach. The graffiti folks, I don't know how they got there, but kudos to our team for getting up there and getting it taken down right away. And then last but not least, I want to give a shout out. We have a national champion in the city of Fresno, Clovis North student, Serbi Kana, won the national championship for National History Day at the University of Maryland. So that's super exciting, I'm sure. Was one of 70 high school students invited to compete. And her performance was titled Deeds, Not Words, How Emmeline Pankhurst Expanded the Frontier of Women's Rights. So kudos to Serbi, and that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, any comments on your end?
Yes. So I'll be using this time, hopefully, to make announcements relevant for the city clerk's office, including election-related items and highlighting boards and commissions that have vacancies. So if you feel a calling to serve your community, consider serving on a City of Fresno Board or Commission. Today I'm going to highlight the Mobile Home Park Rent Review and Stabilization Commission. It is governed by Article 20 of Chapter 12 of the Fresno Municipal Code. And among the primary duties of this commission are to hear rent increase applications and determine whether to approve or disapprove rent increase as provided by FMC Section 12-2011, and also to make to the council such recommendations and reports as it deems appropriate or as the council requests concerning implementation and enforcement of Article 20, Chapter 12 of the Municipal Code. The body is made up of one park owner with 2 alternates, one park resident, also with 2 alternates, and 3 at-large members that are neither park residents nor owners, 1 alternate each. And vacancies currently exist for this body. 1 park owner member is vacant, and 1 at-large member is also vacant. And both vacancies will serve through June 30th, 2025. If you would like to apply for a vacancy on the Mobile Home Park Rent Review and Stabilization Commission or any other City of Fresno Board or Commission, please visit the City of Fresno's City Clerk's website at fresno.gov/City Clerk. There is a link for boards and commission applications where you can both apply and just browse vacancies on City of Fresno boards and commissions. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. City Attorney, any comments on your end?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I know Councilmember Esparza touched on it briefly regarding the Renzi artwork on Shields Avenue. I just wanted to give a special thanks and shout out to the code enforcement legal team that was working on this project. This is a massive 4-month project. I know it wasn't easy to get done, but you all worked together to get the donation and the site secured, so I'd really appreciate that. Wanted to also thank the Renzi family who were extremely patient throughout the course of this project. We will continue to consult with them in terms of where we as a city will permanently display the sculpture. I think they should have a say in where it goes. City manager, just wanted to thank your team, directors Brian Barr and Jennifer Clark, for helping coordinate the temporary storage of the piece. They've been really helpful. Lastly, wanted to thank on this topic Councilmember Esparza for giving my team the ability and the room to come to a creative solution, and thank you for being a leader on this issue. I know it was very important to people that live in your district. This week, I had a meeting with city manager, with California Labor Commissioner. Just wanted to let Bitwise employees know that they will be present here at City Hall on Friday to address any legal aspects of moving forward in terms of getting some assistance for their situation. They're going to be in the building on Friday as part of the job fair. Nothing further to report.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to public comment at this time. We got one and only in the audience today, Fernando Elizondo. Good morning.
Does that give me extra time now?
That gives you 3 minutes flat, sir.
Oh,
Yeah.
Peace be with you. The Lord is my strength and my defense. I come to you to give you a message. You cannot serve two masters, Jerry. It's an abomination to God. I'll leave that up to you. The other thing is that 2 days ago it was Donald Trump Day. Nobody is above the law. Remember that. You, a few days ago or a week, I guess you call it a law, that the homeless cannot camp or use a sidewalk, right? Did all of you vote on that? No answer? Okay. Are you qualified to make laws? Is my question. I looked up your occupation and your background of all of you, and I didn't see not a one of you as an attorney. Am I right? None of you are attorneys. So how can you justify making laws? What qualifies you? I don't see it. What I see, I used to think I was using the wrong terminology before. It was called impersonators. But impersonator is not the right word. Impersonators tell you they're imitating somebody. But imposters is the real name for you. You're trying to tell us that you're somebody that you're not. You're using it to make money all the time. Bottom line is money. For the love of money is the root to all evil. And remember, Donald Trump, every dog has his day. Donald Trump was there for a reason, and it's called treason. You will see that coming in the books. Why did he take these documents? Because Putin promised him a tower, a free tower. And that's why he took those documents. So now you can see why he's there. So anyway, help the people of the city. Community is segregation. This community of the Armenians, communities of Clovis, the community is segregation. City is one. I leave it at that.
City Clerk, do we have anybody online that wishes to speak at this time?
Yes, we have Tracy.
Good morning. Yes, thank you. My name is Tracy Cisneros. I am a mother and an ally of the queer and transgender community residing in District 6. Thank you for the opportunity this morning to speak. So by now, you've all received a letter from me on behalf of Fresno Rainbow Pride and Community Link. Thank you to those council members whose staff took the time to acknowledge my communication. I'll continue to watch my inbox for the others. Today, I represent only myself. As a parent, I am encouraged by all of the discussions around greater support for the LGBTQ plus members of this city. Fresno is growing in numbers and in consciousness, and it will no longer be possible to ignore the voices of our queer and transgender citizens. So our queer and transgender children, our elderly, and everyone in between have been in need of your support since I was in high school, and aware of the needs of my queer friends who had been discarded and disregarded by their own families for being the person they were created to be. So please don't allow these discussions and efforts to stop right here. Money from the city is absolutely needed, and it has been for many years, to support services and outreach to this marginalized population. Full-time representation within the four walls of City Hall is absolutely necessary, as is a genuine effort to actively seek out even the smaller organizations doing the hard work to support and uplift this community. There are so many organizations working hard every day to bring hope to the hopeless and help when needed. They're often built only on volunteers who work a normal 9 to 5, clock out, and continue their labor of love. So they can't be in the room or at the table with you, but their voices are just as important. So I support the proposed budget item. I support a liaison for the LGBTQ plus community within City Hall. I support those funds for that and funds directed to deserving organizations. I support a council built of LGBTQ plus organizational leaders to make educated and fair decisions for how each of those dollars should be directed. And I am grateful for the attention now being placed on this underrepresented community. As a parent, you have given me hope. And as a parent for those kids who have been deserted by their family members, I am also grateful for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lisa Flores.
Good morning, Tyler. I'm glad to see that you're feeling well. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about today. First, I want to thank Mr. Arias for the suggestion in the budget about creating a transit line from Fresno community over to Clovis community. I want to tell you a quick little story. I've had a tumor. I've had a tumor for about a year and a half now. And it came to the point where I needed a test. The only place I could get the test was Clovis community. Now, you all know that I have double cataracts and my cataracts is getting really bad. Well, my first drive over there of my 3-day test was very, very dicey. The second day, I actually had somebody take me. The third day, I didn't need to go because the second day test was so good. But I want you to know one thing, that, you know, I was quick on my feet, worked and got some resources, and got it taken care of. Now, a person that isn't as persistent as I, who probably would take Uber, the cost of Uber going to and from Clovis community, round trip, is $88. So imagine a person like me who had to take the specialized test that is literally, I'm the 6th person in the entire city of Fresno who's taken this test this year. So this test is only administered so rarely as it being once a month. It would have cost me $264 just to walk in the door. The test alone was $17,000. You know, and I'm going to say this, and I don't get really religious very often, but praise Jesus, I don't have cancer. Second, I still sit here in front of you today on Zoom without a copy of the parks budget. I want to thank Miss Annalise Perea's office for actually having the chutzpah and doing what was right by her community and sending me a copy. I look forward to it. I appreciate it. And I value you and your staff. The third thing I want to talk about is as you go forward in the parks budget, there are some, we just went through this horrific thing with COVID, and there's some things on the horizon that I really think that you might want to take a look at doing some possible risk management exercises. And the first thing is COVID XBB coming up in the fall, and how it is or might affect the community, and how would resources be out there to get people, get them the shot if they need it. Also to the burgeoning crisis with the avian flu that is now transferred from the birds to the mammals.
Thank you,
It's
Lisa.
in sea life.
Next, we have Brandy.
Thank you for your time. I am calling, well, there's several things. As we speak, there is a group of people, vulnerable people who lost all their belongings. I got contacted by someone who was removed from a field. They've been trying to find, they're on your housing list. They're unhoused. They've done all the hoops. They've been signed up by the Hope team to get shelter, and they have been moved off. They were told yesterday that they had a short amount of time to move off onto the sidewalk by the Heart team, and by the time they got on the sidewalk, they were told they had a couple hours. They didn't know where to go. There is no options. And so this morning I was called, and she told me that everyone has lost everything, that the Heart team doesn't move them. They throw away all their belongings. And now they were probably less likely to be able to have access to the shelters that are open and that they are waiting on, because they're being scattered because because of this situation that does not make sense. This includes several women who are vulnerable and have been protecting and supporting each other, that have been waiting for years to get into a safe shelter. We have shelters that have been opened that they should have been worked on as the Hope team had come out the last couple of weeks to be able to get their information. And instead, they lost belongings just as the heat is coming, and their protective materials, everything is being lost. We need a more compassionate way. This is unacceptable. And with the ordinance passing, this will be worse. So I ask for justice for that, and for you to consider to actually be mindful of who the elderly people, the people who are trying to get jobs, the people who have been struggling and hoping, and they had the audacity to tell them to go to the POV and they'll get shelter, and we know that is not true. Regarding 1J, want to note that while it is wonderful to have more affordable housing, we are losing our only family shelter. And the people who have been at that shelter have been removed without being placed in another place, because there is no place for a family shelter. We need to ensure that people are not continuing to be displaced and that we have a family shelter. And I also want to ask that we work on a system of communications that allow people to participate in the budget. As this past week, things have changed, and we had the people were not notified about when public comment would be taken during the budget. There is no public outreach with that. It was changed without prior notice last Thursday.
Thank you,
for
Brandy.
budget items, departments.
Next, we have Robert McCloskey.
Good morning, Council. Robert McCloskey with the Fresno Homeless Union and the Community Alliance. I just wanted to bring up the fact that the public may not know, but over 50% of the city budget is going to the police department. The public doesn't know, I don't think, that about 1 million of that is going to military hardware, unnecessary equipment, riot control equipment. I mean, what are you people planning for? Some kind of major disruption in Fresno? Last year, you bought $1 million worth of military equipment and it wasn't even used. The other issue I want to speak to is the new ordinance that was recently passed. Thank you, Annalisa Perea, for voting against that ordinance. This ordinance will further demonize and criminalize the homeless, leaving them virtually no place to go. They can't go under underpasses and in the shade. There will be no shade for them to go to. Several homeless men died last year from heat exhaustion. They stroked out. More are going to die this year. You know, we call it the sit, sleep, lie ordinance. I call it kill the poor ordinance because the city seems intent on further abuse of the poorest of the poor, the unhoused. I just have to mention that two significant traits of a sociopath is the lack of empathy, which 6 council members have, no empathy. And the other one is repeating the same mistakes over and over again. You know, you lost the Kincaid versus the city of Fresno lawsuit, paying out several $1 million to unhoused people that the HART team threw their possessions away. It continues. We are documenting it. The other lawsuit you lost was, of course, the one I was a plaintiff in, trying to keep advocates away from the homeless sweeps. I just wanted to respond briefly. Mr. Bradfield is going around on talk radio claiming that we don't want people to be housed. Us advocates want to keep them on the street. That is so far from the truth. The truth is the city is sitting on $10 million for a tiny home village that's been allocated for over 1.5 years. You people need to step up, build that tiny home village, and stop making outrageous statements on right-wing talk radio that we're a gang that wants to keep people on the street. That's ludicrous. It's usually above my dignity to respond to Mr. Bradfield because he makes such asinine comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next, we have Alexa.
Thank you to Robert and Brandy who just spoke. So, I mean, I have not been involved with the unhoused activism that much as of late, as much as, you know, my fellow members over here. But my God, what the heck is your guys' problem? This ordinance is like beyond, it's like I'm still dumbfounded by what this is, just because it's basically, what is this, genocide? Or what is this, like, you know, not allowing people who are unhoused to exist in Fresno, not letting them sit down, rest, you know, just occupy space, even though their daily life is filled with survival. Like Brandy said, a group of people just lost their belongings. People have died on the street. People have lost their precious items, like, you know, their loved ones' ashes, or like the only photographs of their family that they have. And yet you all still have the audacity to sit there and tout that one Fresno nonsense, to pretend that you care about people. When this is beyond infuriating, because you know what? When you injure one member of the community, one member of the street family, they're as valuable as anyone, as your CEOs, oh my God. When you injure one of us, you injure all of us. And where is Dyer, by the way? Is he off hiding again in the city council? Is he off not facing accountability? Is he gonna go home and, you know, go cower away in his mansion and everything while people are starving and dying in the streets? Men, women, children, not to mention even pets. For God's sakes. I mean, Robert said it correctly when, like, you know, the symptoms of sociopathy include no empathy, no regard for human life. What the heck is wrong with you guys? Shame on all of you who are responsible for passing this ordinance. Shame on all of you who are responsible for just having this huge military budget, or what even is that? A military budget for the city of Fresno? For God's sakes, we need to invest in community resources instead of policing more Black and brown communities who are already facing the brunt of racial injustice and oppression from the police. Not to mention the unhoused community is vulnerable in all of this too. It's getting hotter. this summer is going to have record heats again because of the freaking climate crisis. Are you just going to let more people die? Because, that's what's happening. So, you can all sit there and pretend that you're working your hardest as politicians. I get there's a lot of red tape, bureaucracy, or whatever. But until there is action, we will not believe a single word you say.
Thank you,
Until
Alexis.
there is action.
Council President, that is all the public comment we have.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. What we're going to do at this time is take the 10 o'clock a.m. scheduled hearing. That's our Tax, Equity, and Finance Responsibility Act public hearing. We're going to go out to the public first to see if anybody would like to comment on this item. Again, this is the 10 o'clock a.m. TEFRA hearing. Anybody in the audience wish to speak on this item? Do we have anybody punched up on Zoom, City Clerk?
Council President, there's no one punched up.
Okay. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Anybody wish to make a motion on this item? Motion from Arias, second from Esparza. Any discussion? Any opposition? Seeing none, the item passes 7-0. Thank you, everybody. We're going to move on to contested consent. Today, we just have 2 items pulled to our contested calendar. The first one is item 1C, as in Charles, actions regarding a license agreement of California Interscholastic Federation for use of Woodward Park for the State Cross Country Championship special event. This item was pulled by Council Member Arias. Council Member?
Oh, you pulled that one? We didn't hear that down here. Okay, let me go down there. Hold on.
Council President.
1C as in cat?
Council President, I don't think we approved consent.
I'm fine with the item. I just have more general questions that the administration can address.
Council Member, let me order of operations real quick. After public comment, I failed to take a motion to approve the balance of the.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Esparza, second from Arias. Any opposition? No opposition. Item passes 7-0. My apologies. We can now move on to that item, Council.
City Manager, this agreement has the city contributing $10,000 a year for 5 years to this event. What's the source of that funding?
We've used general city purpose going back to the original license agreement many years ago.
So it would be general fund?
Yes.
Okay. And I note that the event is also getting $25,000 from the Fresno Convention Center's Bureau for the event?
Correct.
What's the source of their funding?
That would be TOD, sales tax from the hotel revenue that is contributed to the budget of the center.
And remind me, we give motel funds to the city motel funds to the Visitors Bureau, right?
No, the city does not contribute to the Visitors Bureau.
How do they get the motel tax in?
So what they do is they take a percentage of that off the top to run their operations, which actually furthers the public outreach and investment into the motels.
So they get a percentage of the motel tax?
Right.
Yeah. So, and my understanding of the Fresno Convention Bureau, Visitors Bureau, and I know it used to be a city department back in the day.
No.
Wasn't it?
No.
Before it got?
No. So under the old SMG contract, there was a portion for co-promotions that went through the SMG contract and was provided. It was $100,000, I believe, was provided to them. We have since ceased that going back to 2018, I think, 19. Although it was in there, there was a provision. And when we redid the ASM agreement, we took it out.
But prior to that, weren't they a city department? I'm talking
No.
like decades ago.
So the convention center, before it was privatized, used to be a city department.
Correct.
There's always been a Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's never been a city department. It's been a separate entity, but in the past, the city has had several board seats and participated in it both from a board perspective and a financial contribution. But in all of my time here, it's the Convention and Visitors Bureau has never been a part of the city. It's always been a separate entity, but we were partners in it.
Does the city still have board representation?
I believe Lance is on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do have yeah, thank you, Greg.
Can we get a list of events that get similar financial support from the Visitors Bureau?
Sure.
Like, I'm interested, does Hmong New Year get financial support from the Visitors Bureau?
Yeah, I can get you the list. I'm not a part of the
I know.
Convention Center Bureau, so.
Yes,
Yeah,
we'll
get you a
request
list.
that.
We'll
We'll
get you a
request
list.
that.
I'm more interested in like understanding why this requires a contract with the city, a contract contribution, a Visitors Bureau contribution. I know they attract 10,000 folks a year. That generates motel tax, which they get a portion of. But Hmong New Year attracts 100,000 people a year. I don't recall having a vote on a contract, them receiving a contribution from the Visitors Bureau, them
Well,
receiving a city contribution.
Because this is a city facility, Hmong New Year is at the fairgrounds, which is not a city facility. So if they were at a city facility, we'd probably have something similar to this.
So, in an example of somebody having a contract at Chansey Park or Soundorina or Fresias on city streets, would they also be eligible to receive a similar support from the Visitors Bureau if they're attracting thousands of people?
It's really about the room nights. So, for example, USA Wrestling, they do 6 events a year. We just had a large wrestling presence here just last weekend, and they do get a similar contribution, as well as the state championship for CIF for track and field. They also get that. It's part of the bid proposal that went to the CIF.
And they're in city facilities, correct? Those?
No, the state track meet is actually at Buchanan in Clovis. However, a lot of those room nights are in Fresno, so thank you for that. And we don't contribute anything to that, but USA Wrestling is at Sullivan Arena.
Okay. Yeah, if you can just give me a list of events that receive city sponsorship and Bureau sponsorship in similar nature, that would be helpful. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Motion from Arias, second from Bredefeld. Any other discussion on the dais? Any opposition? Seeing none, the item passes 7-0. That'll bring us to item 1O as an ocean. Approve Second Amendment to the agreement with Turning Point Central California to operate the Valley Inn as a low-barrier emergency homeless shelter to extend the contract term and increase the compensation for property management and case management services. This item was pulled by Councilmember Arias. Councilmember?
Council President, I got my response via email a few minutes ago that I just read, so my questions have been answered. I'll defer to any other council member.
Do we have any other discussion on the dais?
Yeah, I just.
Councilmember Bredefeld?
I'm just curious why the increase, Bill?
Good morning, Council. Assistant Director Phil Sky, Planning and Development. Councilmember Bredefeld, the reason is because the original agreement started in 2021. When the first amendment to this agreement came before Council last year, it extended the agreement until 2023. So that's a second year of operations.
Okay.
At the time the amendment was approved by Council, we had not yet received our Home Key 2 award for this site, which covers operations for the second year of that agreement. Mm-hmm. Since the approval of the amendment, we did receive our Home Key dollars, which we had planned to utilize to fund the second year of that agreement. So this amendment today brings those Home Key dollars into play. So really all it is it's basically $1.5 million for the first year, which is from 21 to 22, which has already been behind us, and our Home Key 2 operating dollars through the end of June 2023.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have Councilmember Chavez punched up, but I do have a motion from Arias and a second from Bredefeld. Councilmember Chavez?
Yeah, no, I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to thank Director's Guide for the information. I got that sent over, and then my office will be coordinating on the request that we had on there. But thank you for that. I was actually pretty impressed with some of the numbers that they're producing, so appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Seeing no other discussion, is there any opposition to the motion on the table? Seeing none, the item passes 7-0. Thank you, Phil. Our last item is 1Z as in zebra, resolution authorizing the examination of sales or transaction and use tax records by the city attorney and the city attorney's retained legal analysts. This was pulled by Councilmember Bredefeld. Councilmember?
Yeah, I just would appreciate just kind of an explanation of the purpose of this.
Yeah, Councilmember Bredefeld, this was essentially just codifying for the administration to allow for the data and information that our folks use to compile the budget to be accessible to the city attorney and our analyst, Mr. Andy Heath. that
Okay.
Comes in on that. That's basically, as we didn't have a process before, we're trying
Got
to
it.
figure out what that will look like, and this kind of codifies that.
You want to make the motion?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Chavez, second by Bredefield. I have Councilmember Karbasi. Are you wanting to speak? Seeing no discussion, is there any opposition? Seeing no opposition, the item passes 7-0. At this time, we're going to do closed session, including our special closed session item. City Attorney, would you please read off what those items are and whether we'll report anything out afterwards? Thank you.
Yes, Council President, thank you. In closed session today, we have item A, conference with legal counsel, public security, discuss security of City Hall. Item B, conference with labor negotiators, all units. And as to the special meeting, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Raymond Gonzalez versus City of Fresno. We may expect to have reportable items after closed session.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next Thursday at 9 a.m. Leslie, my apologies. When your card was handed in, it wasn't to the clerk and it ended up in the wrong pile. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to address council at this time. If you'd like to take the full 5 minutes, you could go ahead.
All right.
But I appreciate your patience. If I could just have you bring your microphone down a little bit to.
Okay.
It's pretty flexible. There you go.
All right, got it.
All right, Leslie, again, my apologies. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Oh, well, I've lived in Fresno for over 20 years, and this is the first time I've done this because of the matter. It's very important to me. It's personal because one of my family members is in the community. I mean, the LGTB TQA community. So that's why I wanted to address for the first time ever here and make a comment. Like Tracy, who spoke earlier, I'm also asking that the City Council approve and support the proposed funding coming up for the BTQ community. I encourage this council to approve and create the liaison position as well. As far as I can see, that would only lead to a positive change. And I say this on behalf, in part, of my, as I say, it's very personal, my non-binary son. And he came out, the first person he came out to was me. As I say, this is a very personal thing, but at the same time, it's also, I feel, a broader thing, a more community thing. And I feel that that would be an important thing to consider and support. And that's all I wanted to say. So thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right, everybody, the time is 11:13 a.m. We're going to go ahead and convene today's meeting, and we'll see everybody at 9 o'clock next Thursday.
And for the record, Council President, there's nothing to report out from closed session.
Thank you.